I want to go over a couple front end solutions and I'll let you go. And we agree so much on this, and I tell people this all the time. Limiting unnecessary police contacts. I think we need to get police out of everything we possibly can and only have them deal with and go to and respond to things that we need police officers to do, that they're highly trained and effective at doing. And everything else has to be left to civil society outside the police department to handle. I know in the book you talk about mental health and everything. I've read your book quite a while ago, but I have gone back to it prepping for this interview, and I was super happy to find that in some of the other stuff you wrote, because I think that's vitally important. And I'm not sure, why do you think police fight that so much?
Well, I think that to the extent that there is a fight, it's around the budget. I think that at least in Los Angeles, I don't know how things are in Chicago or in DC, Los Angeles Police Union a couple of years back issued some sort of proclamation where they said they wanted to be out of the business of responding to people in mental health crisis and responding after car accidents when there was no, threat of harm, and responding to homeless issues or, other things like that. I think that there's a lot of police officials who would say that that's not what they're trained to do, that they shouldn't be responsible for all of those kinds of things. And I see, and I've argued that that's a place of interest convergence that should be taken advantage of. It's a place where abolitionists and the LA Police Union would agree. And they might not agree on everything, but if they can agree on that's worth taking advantage of. I think where the disagreement comes in is really about the budget. And this, the concern, the police department does not want to decrease their budget. What they're saying is, we don't have enough money to do what we need to do. So we shouldn't do all of this other stuff. And we should be able to spend all the money that we currently use on the crime fighting stuff. So I think that's where the debate comes around. In my imagined world, if I had a say in making these kinds of changes, I would push for some experimentation and pilot projects and the like, and really be serious and disciplined about what the cost benefits are, and measured, not just in police cars, but also in ER visits and, jail capacity and all sorts of things, and really figure out what the economic costs and benefits are of these kinds of alternative systems. But I think they're hugely important. Barry Friedman, a professor at NYU, has written an article called Disaggregating the Police Function, which I think is such a great way of thinking about it. If you think about all the different things that police are tasked to do, and you put it in sort of a pie chart, now think about which of those things police are the best trained and equipped to do, and give the things that they aren't so well trained and equipped to do to other entities.
Right, and I've tried to say for years, I'm like, they have a badge, a gun, a nightstick, now a taser or pepper spray. They're not social workers. They're not trained to be them. Maybe they should be better trained in those things, right? And, you talk about de-escalation too, and that's de-escalation training. They obviously need that, and I will fully support that. But we need to just have them do what they're best doing. And unfortunately, they all too often are put in situations where they're not going to win. Yeah. Right. Well, at the same time, you've given them a gun that they're carrying into the situation.
Right.
Right. Which it heightens the intensity of the situation, because they, rightfully so to some extent, are worried that if they ever lose that, they're dead.
Yeah. Fire, my cousin is retired firefighter, and, he's talked about the fact that he had to go into situations all the time that were situations that fire or police might have been called to respond to. Firefighters don't have weapons with them. They don't have, I suppose they have an axe or something, but they don't have a gun, they don't have a taser, and they come into situations like car accidents, like people who are going through mental health crises, all sorts of things, and respond without weapons.
Right, and it can be done. You talk about it, cahoots has been out there forever. I've heard people that come back to me and say, well, where's it actually worked? And they'd get hurt. I'm like, well, they haven't gotten hurt. And there haven't been any serious injuries to a cahoots person since it opened in, like, I think 88 or 89. So, like, no, we have an example.
There are, there's 18,000 law enforcement agencies across the country, and there's different ways of thinking about this all. But the policing project at NYU and the organization at Georgetown Law that Christy Lopez runs are thinking about these alternate responders and having conferences and having law enforcement officials come and talking about demonstration projects. And I do think that there is this interest, and not just among activists, among law enforcement as well. But it takes money and it takes coordination. And we are, in our law enforcement world, entirely bottom up. And so to get something like this to take root, you've got to have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of law enforcement agencies deciding that it's the right kind of thing to do, and then getting their local government to pass whatever initiative means it has to happen. So it's this bureaucratic mess to get anything to take hold.
Right, and it's the politics also. You have to get the politics. And we live in a world now where even our crime is going down, like in 22 through 25, crime's going down. One terrible crime happens. Oh, it's all a lie. You don't know, and it's not happening. No. Terrible things can still happen while crime plummets. Right? Like, there used to be 200 murders. Now we're down to 100. You know what? Those 100 people who got murdered, it still sucks for them and their families. Crime is going down. Maybe the police are doing things better. I mean, it's more likely a national thing, but let's say the police are doing it better. It still sucks for those 100 people in the family, but how do you rate what the police have done or the criminal justice system has done? Crime's going down. We should be happy with that. Can we make adjustments? Sure. But it's too much. I think the politics, the local politics among the politicians is also a huge problem to getting a lot of this stuff implemented, right? They just have a political perspective that you must meet everything with force and policing, and that's the way to do it. Once again, if they're pro-police, they're hurting the police. Why do cops want to go handle dealing with trying to get a homeless person away from the front door of an apartment building? If they can send other people who are trained at it and better at it, they don't want to deal with that. Thanks for staying with us to the end. If you believe in this work, like this video and subscribe to help us amplify our message. And if you want to be part of the change, check out the links below to support or get involved.